Ukrainian intelligence found a warehouse full of Russian Shahed drones. And naturally, they did what any of us would do, sent those drones up in smoke. But is this actually a massive blow to Russia's drone production capacity? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's take a look at it. So this is a really interesting story. Reportedly, according to some satellite photos, a Shahed drone warehouse has been taken out by Ukrainian forces. This was Ukrainian General Staff saying they hit a base in Yeysk in the Krasnodar region containing 400 Shahed drones. Now, there's a bunch of video on social media showing explosions and secondary detonations going off. It's clearly a huge warehouse. Now, some social media users are thinking that this was done by Neptune cruise missiles, or possibly long-range Ukrainian-made kamikaze drones. But obviously, we're going to talk about that in a second. But reportedly, this warehouse contained up to 400 of these Shahed drones. And the fact that they were stored there and the fact that there were so many secondary explosions indicates that these were likely prepared and very ready to be shipped out. Reportedly, again, we're talking about over 400 Shaheds. Now, the actual data we're going to get into about not just how this was taken out, but kind of what exactly this entails. But of course, if you feel like you are running on empty, you don't need to just manufacture more Iranian weapons. You may just need a little more caffeine. That's why you should check out Strike Gum. Zero sugar, 90 milligrams of caffeine in each piece. That's as much as a Red Bull, as much as an Amp Energy. But it fits in your pocket. And best of all, it's made in the USA and veteran owned. So check us out, strikegum.com, or on Amazon. Just search for Strike Gum. Links in the description. Okay, so here's the thing that I thought was most interesting. Reportedly, is that the Shahed drones, the parts are purchased from Iran, but then shipped to Russia for final assembly. Now, this assembly is being done at Alabuga, Russia's main plant now for making the one-way drones, with Alabuga plans to produce about 6,000 of them a year by 2025. And right now, Alabuga is pumping out about 4,500 over the course of a calendar year. Now, that means that Russia or Ukraine has taken out about 1/12 of the total production of Shaheds in Russia. That's a lot. Again, Russia could sustain, maybe 10 more of those strikes a year, which is really quite damaging to the Russian war effort, right? Now, the other thing to remember is that Shaheds are subject to have a high attrition rate, right? They're not stealthy. They move slowly. They fly low. And so the idea for Russia is that they're willing to launch flights of 100 plus, and 91% or so should get shot down, which means that you have 9 that do hit their targets. And with a 110-pound warhead, it's actually a pretty devastating strike if it hits the right sort of target. And that's sort of the other thing. It seems like Ukraine's weapon that targeted this, I strongly think is a homemade one-way drone. And the reason is that the Ukraine has weapons that can have ranges equivalent to Western long-range weapon systems. But what they don't have is a payload, right? Only Western cruise missiles or ballistic missiles have these big payloads that can really, really slam into and destroy like whole buildings, right? Now, but there's a catch. If that building that you hit already contains explosives, then all you have to do is cook off the warheads or the fuel. And that's why I suspect that these drones were likely consolidated because they were going to be all launched together in a drone flight. They were very close to being deployed, which meant their warheads were armed. And so Ukraine likely knew down to the building that where these Shaheds were located. They said, listen, we don't need a giant system here. We need a few, 100 pounds of explosives, if that, in a long-range drone to go out there and hit this Shahed's warehouse directly. And then, as long as it creates a fire or other unsafe conditions, the Shaheds are going to cook off, and one by one, they'll explode. And when one explodes, right, it increases the likelihood of a chain reaction. That's likely what happened here, at least in my suspicion. And this makes sense because for Ukraine, their ability to hit Russian munitions depots, disrupt Russian logistics, is a key part of their strategy in the conflict. I want to point out another little fun factoid is that according to several leaked documents, Russia can't find workers anymore to produce these Shahed drones. And so what they've relied on is actually recruiting Africans. African women specifically get recruited, brought to Russia, and get told that they're going to be building drones. Now, a lot of the women who are interviewed claim that they don't like it, that they're mad that they're building drones. But in reality, I would say that earning a comparatively high wage in a comparatively stable currency, I don't think there's going to be that much negative feedback, right? And I point this out because this may be a sign, again, that these Shaheds are not quite as cheap to build as we think. And if Russia in a key defense industry, right, cannot get Russians to do it, that's a sign. Again, imagine if we had African laborers building the F-35 or manufacturing artillery rounds, right? We'd think that was sort of preposterous. And the fact that Russia is resorting to building its critical national security stuff with rando African laborers is a sign that the Russian labor market may be a lot tighter. The Russian economy may be a lot more overheated than we are led to believe from Russia's public data. Anyway, guys, that's all I had. Huge thank you to Martin Baum, Chris Rossi, Stuart Abel, Daniel Brown, Sergei Zinchenko, Chris Holmes, Chris Gorsuch, Daniel M., and Ida Skycall, as well as all of our lieutenant tier members. I couldn't do this without you guys. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.